Most Devil May Cry fans love Dante, both as a character and even as someone who would actually be pretty fun to hang out with. I guess that's why the guy is considered one of the most iconic video game characters of all time, but despite the Demon Hunter's prominence, there is a guy lurking in the shadows who deserves just as much attention. Of course, we're talking about Vergil, Dante's cold, calculating, and demonic twin brother. Despite their resemblance, these two characters are drastically different from each other, as Vergil counters Dante's rebellious and flashy demeanor with his stoic discipline and ruthless efficiency. Though Vergil is someone who's mostly driven by his thirst for power and his demonic heritage, we'd like to argue that this is not an inherently evil character. Thus, in this marvelous video, we'll be taking a look at this elusive antagonist to catch a glimpse of the dark secrets hidden behind Vergil's elegant persona. But before we move on, please take a moment to hit the like and subscribe buttons. It might just be a small click for you, but for us, it means an awful lot. Now, without further ado, let's go. Who is Vergil, and what are his origins? In a strange way, both Vergil and Dante were always destined for greatness, as they are the sons of the legendary Dark Knight Sparda and his human wife, Eva. They were born in an isolated mansion in the quaint town of Redgrave City and grew up training in combat with their legendary dad. Like most brothers, they'd fight over every little thing, and in this early period, Vergil's life was pretty happy. Vergil developed a keen interest in literature and poetry during these years thanks to an old man in town whom he would often visit. The old man would provide the young boy with knowledge, and Vergil soon became extremely fond of poems, especially the ones by William Blake. The old man would notice this and even gifted Vergil a collection of Blake's poems. Vergil would keep this book around for all his life, even after becoming an adult. It was sometime before his 8th birthday that Vergil's mother, Eva, gifted the two brothers one half of the perfect amulet each, but tragedy would strike the household when their father, Sparda, would disappear and perished under mysterious circumstances. This left Eva and the twins completely unprotected, and, well, the prince of the underworld, Mundus, seized his chance. He attacked their house and even set a part of the building on fire. During this vicious attack, Vergil was busy playing just a few yards away from the house when he was ambushed by demons. Before he could even make sense of what had happened, Vergil was whisked away to the cemetery where he would awaken his inner demon. In the ensuing battle, Vergil would defeat all the demons surrounding him with his trusted katana, the Yamato. Vergil would then see his house succumbing to an inferno in the distance and assume that his mother had abandoned him. Heartbroken, Vergil would go on the run, completely unaware that his mother had died while desperately searching for him in the ruins of their house. And this is where Vergil's journey as a terrifying villain truly begins. What happens in Devil May Cry 3: Dante's Awakening? In DMC3, Vergil plays a role that's extremely integral to the entire franchise and even establishes him as a power-hungry antagonist hell-bent on unlocking a pathway to the demon world. At the beginning of this arc, we see Vergil forming a temporary alliance with the mysterious Arkham. Together, they successfully break open the first 7 seals Sparda placed on the demonic tower, Temen Nigru. When the ominous tower begins to rise, Arkham leads Vergil to the Forbidden Land at its base. This event triggers a whole bunch of events that lead us to a frightening conclusion. Vergil is then seen alongside Arkham at the tower's summit, where they wait for our protagonist Dante. Eventually, the Hell Vanguard, sent to eliminate Dante, fails their task, and Vergil slays the creature personally. It's this kind of stuff that shows us that Vergil has literally no patience for those who fail him. After this, Vergil sends Arkham to deal with Lady, Arkham's daughter, who's another key character in the story. Dante succeeds in ascending the tower and makes it all the way to the top, where he confronts his villainous twin brother. As you can probably guess, the two brothers engaged in a fierce battle that has great philosophical implications about their views on strength and purpose. By the end of this confrontation, Vergil is able to soundly defeat Dante and even takes away Dante's half of the perfect amulet. It's at this moment that Dante begins to awaken his devil trigger, allowing him to take on Vergil once more. However, before this fight can begin, Arkham convinces Vergil that they have already got all they need. Thus, the two antagonists descend back to the Forbidden Land, where they try to unlock the remaining seal guarding the Demon Realm. By this point, Vergil has grown a bit aware of Arkham's treachery, and as they reach the final door of the Lair of Judgment, Vergil strikes Arkham down due to his betrayal. Afterwards, Vergil enters the ritual chamber and begins a ceremony that will grant him access to the demon world. He's briefly interrupted by Beowulf, an absurdly powerful demon who has been blinded by a previous encounter with Dante. Beowulf mistakes Vergil for his twin, but is defeated quickly. Vergil then claims his defeated opponents could have his new devil arm, adding it to his rapidly growing arsenal. Later, Dante gets to the final seal and manages to disrupt the ritual just in time. He and Vergil begin to fight, but just as the encounter intensifies, Lady arrives on the battlefield and intervenes. As a result, all three characters are wounded. In this moment, Jester, Arkham's alter ego, finds the perfect opportunity to reveal his manipulations. He eventually completes the ritual and activates the tower. The tower comes crumbling down and everyone is thrust into its ruins. Vergil survives this and can later be seen walking through the Divine Library in the Netherworld, where he is observed by a wounded lady. He reunites with Dante for their final battle against Arkham, who has now attained an even greater form. The twins are able to defeat Arkham using their combined power, but Vergil remains committed to his goal of claiming the Force Edge, their deceased father's sword. This difference leads to a climactic and emotional duel between the brothers, where Dante is finally able to emerge victorious. Despite this, he's unable to persuade Vergil to return with him. Against all reason, Vergil decides to remain in the demon realm, where he sinks deeper into the dark abyss. In the epilogue of this story, Vergil stands alone in a cave completely filled with the Fallen Ones. Three mysterious orbs, signaling the arrival of the great evil, approach Vergil, and he prepares for yet another battle. Though the odds are stacked against him, he declares that if Sparda could defeat the Demon King, so could he. And well, as the tale ends, a new battle begins. What is Vergil's role in Devil May Cry? In Devil May Cry, Vergil makes a return in the guise of Nello Angelo, a powerful dark knight who serves Mundus, the Demon King, who had once been defeated by his father. Vergil seems to have gone through a complete transformation and has also been stripped of his whole identity, but he does encounter Dante multiple times on Mallet Island. During their first battle, Angelo easily gains the upper hand and is able to deliver a fatal blow just as Dante's amulet slips out. Angelo spots the amulet, and this simple artifact triggers an onslaught of Vergil's buried memories. The villain is completely overcome by agony and is forced to stop his attack. He throws Dante to the side and disappears in an inferno of blue and purple flames. Nello Angelo reappears in the island's gardens and challenges Dante to fight yet again. A fierce fight begins with Dante defeating Nello a second time, causing the warrior to retreat. In this fight, it becomes pretty evident that the remnants of Vergil's identity are resurfacing and challenging Mundus's influence. Eventually, there's a final confrontation between Nello and Dante, leading to some of the most emotional and revealing exchanges in the franchise. By the end, Nello shows Dante his true face, but Dante still doesn't recognize that he's fighting Vergil. The battle ends, and as Dante emerges victorious, Nello stumbles backwards in defeat and begins to rise into the air. Then he clutches his head and begins to scream in torment, while a torrent of blue flames completely consume his body, leaving behind only Vergil's half of the perfect amulet. Dante picks the amulet up and is struck by a memory from his childhood. The realization hits after Vergil has already been whisked away, which makes his fate even more tragic. How does Vergil's story progress in Devil May Cry 4? About 17 years before the events of Devil May Cry 4, Vergil pays a visit to the city of Fortuna in order to investigate a group known as the Order of the Sword. This twisted cult is devoted to Sparda and sees Vergil's deceased father as some sort of divine figure. Intrigued by this, Vergil quietly sneaks into the city and is attacked by a horde of dangerous scarecrows. However, he dispatches them quickly and delves deeper into the Order's secrets. This uncovers their misguided plans and obsession with power, but this investigation does lead Vergil to question the nature of his own beliefs. As he heads away from the town, Vergil vows that one day the Order will know about the true power of the Son of Sparda. We also witness Vergil casting a shadow that resembles the shape of Nero's Devil Trigger, hinting at his relationship with his son. Interestingly, it was also during his stay in the town that he had an affair through which Nero was conceived. What happens to Vergil in Devil May Cry 5? In DMC 5, Vergil finally breaks free from Mundus's control and returns to the human world after 6 long years. We see that his body has grown very frail from years of battle and demonic influence. Despite this, he remains determined to escape death and travels to Fortuna to get back Yamato, his demonic katana that had bonded with Nero, to become the source of his Devil Bringer arm. This leads him to Nero's garage, where they have a brutal confrontation, which ends with Vergil literally ripping Nero's Devil Bringer off at the elbow. This causes Yamato to revert back to its original form, after which he vanishes through a portal, leaving Nero bloodied and unconscious. Vergil then returns to his abandoned childhood home, where he takes on a pair of demons before making the rather drastic call of stabbing himself with Yamato. This splits Vergil's being into two halves, one demon and one human. The act creates two distinct entities. V, the human one filled with emotion and regret, while the other, Urizen, is consumed by ambition and power. The two then start on their separate paths towards their goals. V seeks to reunite with Urizen to get back to his normal state, while Urizen begins his quest for the clip-off fruit that will grant him even more power by turning him into the ultimate being. For the next 2 years, Dante confronts Urizen and defeats him, weakening him just enough for V to approach. When V finally merges with Urizen, a truly surreal spectacle takes place. Time slows down and a vision of Vergil as a child appears, with his subconscious speaking to V. The child Vergil questions them about their choices, revealing a longing to finally face his fears and reconnect with his long-lost brother. Moved by this, V agrees, and the two halves merge together. In a brilliant flash of unearthly light, Vergil is reborn, just as we've always known him. Dante eventually confronts Vergil, but he refuses to fight his brother while he's wounded and battered. Instead, he heads to the very top of Clip-Off and begins reflecting on his past, particularly his mother's death, which seems to haunt him to this day. Dante's words lingered in his mind, which revealed that their mother hadn't abandoned Vergil, but she had died searching for him among the ruins of their home. Dante eventually arrives at the scene and demands that the Yamato be returned. This escalates into an intense duel where Dante finally reveals that Nero is Vergil's son. Stunned but not shaken, Vergil transforms into his Sin Devil trigger form and prepares himself for a final clash, but Nero, having awakened his own demon form, intervened in their battle and proceeded to take on Vergil himself. After an extremely exhausting battle, Nero is able to gain victory over his father. Later, Vergil reluctantly agrees to aid the heroes in destroying Clip-Off. After departing to the demon world, Dante decides to sever the roots of the tree himself, but this is not a place from which one usually returns. He grants Nero a parting gift, a book of William Blake's poetry, and tells him to keep it until their reunion. Once they make it into the realm, the two brothers take on hordes of demons side by side, cutting down the demonic tree and sealing the underworld behind them. We catch a glimpse of the brothers wiping out demons in the demon realm, playfully bickering amongst each other. As they tally their kills, it's evident that they're no longer rivals, and we finally get our happy ending. What is Vergil's personality like? It's pretty clear from the story so far that Vergil is quite the opposite of his brother. Dante is loud, obnoxious, and extroverted, while Vergil is composed and deeply introverted. Even when taking on the strongest of foes, he maintains an aura of fearlessness and is emotionally distant even during the most intense battles. Though he's certainly one of the coldest and most ruthless characters you'll ever encounter, he adheres to a personal code of honor that places a special emphasis on discipline. Although he is an antagonist, he exhibits all the traits of an honorable warrior and is idealistic to the core. Even when he was corrupted and turned into Nello, Vergil refused to strike his brother in the back and insisted on fair combat during all of their encounters. However, Vergil can also be extremely immoral at times. Most of his decisions are solely driven by his thirst for power, and thus, there's no sense of right or wrong in his actions. He's willing to break his own rules when necessary. For example, he ambushed Nero out of nowhere to get his hands back on the Yamato. He also despises his own humanity and often lends more to his demonic heritage. This is best seen in his desire to emulate his father by gaining his ungodly power. His obsession with growing strong springs from his childhood trauma and the sudden loss of his family, which is enough to drive even the sanest of men crazy. Beneath Vergil's cold exterior, he also assigns sentimental value to certain things, like his father's sword and his half of the perfect amulet. Later, he also developed an emotional bond with his son Nero, which was definitely a first for a guy as stoic as Vergil. His philosophy is perfectly summarized in the iconic line from DMC3, where he states that might controls everything, and without strength, you cannot protect anything. Though it's easy to write Vergil off as just another villain who's hungry for power, it eventually becomes evident that he seeks power to defend the things he failed to protect back when he was a child. Thus, one can understand Vergil's bitterness towards Dante, as he believes that Dante never lost as much as he did. To sum it all up, let's just say that Vergil's view of the world is shaped by the events of his childhood, which were pretty grim to say the least. No wonder he grew up to be a villain. What weapons and gear does Vergil use? Over the years, we've seen Vergil use a variety of weapons, including 1. The Yamato. This katana is a keepsake from Vergil's father, and it's said to be made out of darkness and capable of cutting through dimensions. His reliance on this sword proves that it's the source of his powers. 2. Beowulf. This is a set of gauntlets and greaves that contain the power of light. They've become pretty standard in Vergil's gameplay. This devil arm originates from a demon of the same name. 3. Force Edge. This Sword of Sparda was later used by Vergil for a brief period in its dominant form. This has since become a staple of his arsenal, but was later replaced by Mirage Edge in DMC5 Special Edition. 4. Mirage Edge. This illusionary replacement for the Force Edge is based on the Mirage Blades, which were infused with the Rebellion after the latter was broken by Dante. What powers and abilities does Vergil possess? As you might expect from the Son of Sparda, Vergil boasts a variety of powers and abilities that allow him to deal with any enemy whatsoever. 1. Superhuman Strength. Vergil possesses an ungodly amount of strength that's almost beyond the scope of human comprehension. He's so strong that he can palm strike the Rebellion throne Arkham and impale his enemies using Yamato's sheath as a projectile. Even when he was in his weakened state after escaping Mundus's control, he remained strong enough to drop Nero's Devilbringer with ease. 2. Superhuman Speed. Vergil's speed also exceeds that of most other warriors in the series. He can move and attack at such a frightening pace that he becomes impossible to see even for seasoned combatants. We've seen him literally stop raindrops mid-air and cut bullets in half using his katana. His speed allows him to overwhelm hordes of enemies in the blink of an eye. 3. Superhuman Durability and Regeneration. In many instances, we've seen Vergil tanking hits that should have easily killed him. Even when he was struck by Rebellion in a vital spot, his body remained intact thanks to his regenerative capabilities and sheer resilience. Vergil can heal from even the most lethal of wounds with ease and has shown that he can start recovering the moment a weapon is removed from his wounds. 4. Demonic Power Manipulation. Vergil is also capable of channeling his demonic energy in order to create spectral weapons out of thin air. If this wasn't enough, ever since he's reunited his demon and human halves, he has also shown that he's capable of creating doppelgangers out of that same energy. 5. Teleportation. Vergil's mastery over teleportation allows him to strategically reposition himself in battle. He's clearly more skilled at this than Dante, and thus it's become a staple of his combat style. 6. Force Field Generation. Vergil is capable of projecting bursts of durable energy while his Devil Trigger is activated. This field repels and blocks many powerful attacks, making it even more difficult to take him down in battle. The field also repels enemies and blocks attacks, allowing him to prepare abilities like the Spiral Swords. 7. Devil Trigger. This is a special demonic form in which Vergil gets boosts for all his attributes like strength, speed, regeneration, and power. When he's jumping, he even gets wings. Sadly, they don't allow him to fly, at least in the games. 8. Sin Devil Trigger. This form was first unlocked in DMC5 and grants abilities like flight, better regeneration, and an overwhelming increase in demonic energy and power. Given the amount of strength Vergil already has, this basically makes him unstoppable. What other media does Vergil appear in? Over the years, Vergil has appeared in numerous other properties like Beautiful Joe, SNK vs. Capcom Card Fighters DS, Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, Sengoku Basara, PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale, Street Fighter V, and Tekken. All these appearances uplift Vergil's stature as a villain, and it shows that, as a character, Vergil has, in some ways, surpassed the medium he was born into. Marvelous verdict. Well, there's no denying the fact that Vergil is one evil guy. He's power-hungry and malicious with no sympathy for anyone, including his own brother. However, his long journey has shown us time and again that there is definitely some humanity still left in him. We're sure that even though the goodness is buried deep under years of trauma and loneliness, someone as obnoxious as Dante will definitely get through to him sooner or later. But that's all we got for you for now. Do let us know what you think about Vergil in the comments section down below, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button to stay up to date with all of our most marvelous content. As always, if you like the content, don't forget to leave a like, but for now, goodbye, dear viewers, and don't worry, because we'll catch you in the next one real soon.